employment, and then all of our community partnerships like Department of Children and Families, Family Care Council, and FND, which is why we're here today. And their theme this year is transition, so I'm here to talk about employment. But after I'm done talking about employment, if you have questions about any of those other APD areas, I'm more than happy to stay and answer your questions. If that's okay. Will they be able to see the PowerPoint as well?
Well, we're going to focus on your PowerPoint, and if you get over closer to the screen.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to roam because we're on camera, so forgive me while I'm standing still. Usually I roam around. So the agency's mission, just a little bit of background on APD. Go ahead and go forward one. The agency supports persons with developmental disabilities in living, learning, and working in their communities. Developmental disabilities include intellectual disability, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, autism, Prader-Willi syndrome, and spina bifida. Those are the 6 diagnoses that individuals that come to APD qualify for APD and Medicaid waiver services. Just a breakdown of our customers. As you see, intellectual disabilities, a little over 72% of the individuals that we serve, and certainly diagnosis of autism is a growing number. We're certainly seeing more and more families coming to us with a child with autism. We're here in the Suncoast region. We're a rather large region. We go all the way from Pasco County all the way down to Lee and Collier counties, developing 10 counties in Florida. And there are 2 paths when you come to APD with one of those 6 developmental disabilities. Those that qualify are automatically put onto a waiting list. Unfortunately, here in Suncoast, we do still have about 4,000 families that are waiting patiently on the waiting list to move to Medicaid waiver services. The good news has been the past 2 years, the legislature has funded money to move families off of the wait list, and we've had about 350 families come out of those critical categories and onto the Medicaid waiver services. And we're certainly hoping that that funding continues this July as the new budget comes out. And then otherwise, we have individuals that are on the Medicaid waiver system. So we're going to talk about 2 paths to employment, one for families on the wait list and one for families on the waiver. What is supported employment? It's also called job coaching. So you may hear it called job coaching, but it's services to people who, regardless of their disability, have not yet had access to competitive employment. And by competitive employment, we mean integrated in the community, not a traditional workshop setting or a work group setting, but working in the community alongside individuals that are not disabled for at least a minimum wage. And which I kind of jumped the gun on the second point, that it must be integrated and community-based, and that they're not receiving a piece rate. We don't want to see people working all week long, doing piece rate and then coming home with a paycheck of a few dollars. That's not acceptable and not integrated employment. Next, please. The values of supported employment are that persons with disabilities should have jobs that provide a sufficient income for a reasonable standard of living. Just because you're going to work, you shouldn't be in fear. And we'll talk a little bit about losing benefits. That's a common misconception, is that going to work on a part-time or even a full-time job is going to jeopardize your standing with Social Security and your Medicaid. And that we really try not to use the ready word, that an individual is either ready or not ready to work. Really, as service providers, it's our job to put the right supports and services in place. So it's more that we're ready, not so much the worker. And that a job belongs to the employee. There are times when you have support coordinators and lots of people in the mix and job coaches that we kind of lose sight of who we're serving, and that individual's voice is really at the center. They shouldn't be plugged into a ready job. There should be a job based on what they value and what their skills are and what they want to do. Again, that developed on those needs and skills and preferences of the individual. And that we're looking for natural and individualized outcomes. If you're working at Publix and there are plenty of employees there doing the same job as you, they're there to be your natural supports. It doesn't all have to be paid staff persons. We're looking to build those relationships. Go ahead. There are 2 phases to supported employment. Phase 1 involves vocational rehabilitation, and I see they have a table out there today. So if you're an individual looking for work, your first stop is going to be vocational rehabilitation. Phase one is they're going to do a discovery process. Discover what the individual likes, what they don't like. Do they want to work inside or outside? Do they like groups, or do they kind of like to work by themselves? And they're going to look to match that person's skills and desires with a job. And they're going to begin the job development, which is going out into the community, helping with applications, setting up interviews, working on soft skills, how to dress, how to interview, how to fill out that application. Next. Then there's phase two. When VR has completed that service and they've been in place, I believe it's 90 days, the job is stable, they're going to look to close the case. And that's when the individual that's on med waiver would come to APD for phase two, which is long-term and maybe forever. You know, it may be that gradually that coach is able to fade out when the person no longer needs them on the job. But it's long-term, ongoing supports that are offered to maintain employment indefinitely. The job coach has frequent contacts. They'd be coming to the job site, making sure that communication is effective between the employer and the employee. They can provide additional on-the-job training if needed. And they can assist with any work-related supports. Transportation is always a big one. How is the individual going to get to and from work? So they can assist with that type of service. Next. That's for the individuals on the waiver. Now, for the past 2 years, we have had money for individuals that are on a waiting list. Traditionally, they would go to VR, and they still do. That doesn't have anything to do with APD. But now we have what's called the Employment Enhancement Program, EEP for short. So anyone who is on the APD waiting list can have access to a job coach without going through VR if they choose not to, and without being on Medicaid waiver. We're able to pay for all the same things that VR would be able to fund and med waiver would be able to fund, namely that job coach. But we're able to go even a step further and pay for paid internships. If someone thinks they may be interested in a field, we can develop an opportunity for them to do an internship. And as long as we have a reasonable expectation that it's going to lead to employment, we will pay that individual's wages while they're on that internship. We're able to pay for transportation. We're able to pay for uniforms and shoes, anything that's work-related, we can use this special funding for. The legislature has given the state $500,000 each of the past 2 years, and this year they're looking to double that and have asked for $1 million. We currently have about 130 individuals in Suncoast that are on the waiting list and that have a job coach through this program. But we're certainly looking for more. And our target audience are those individuals that are in high school, ages 18 and up. We haven't turned away anyone on the wait list that has come. We have individuals that are 40 and 50 years old, and we haven't turned away anyone. But our focus is on those folks transitioning out of school, that if they want to work, this would be a program that would be able to support them. The only caveat is that if you are already involved with vocational rehabilitation and you have an open case with them, you do have to finish your phase one with them, and then we can start the EEP. So there won't be any gap there. Next. I talked a little bit already about the EEP services, that job development, the supported employment coach. And we are also able to pay for transportation and uniforms, which is something even beyond what the waiver is able to pay for. And paid internships has been a popular route so far. Not as much in Suncoast as we would like to see, so we are actively trying to find individuals that would like to do a paid internship. So if you have a waitlist coordinator and it's something you're interested in, please let them know. They are actively looking for participants. We have 2 individuals in Suncoast that run our EEP, and it's based on last names, Deborah Noel for A through L and James Vadrine for M through Z. My contact information I'll give you before you leave. If you have any questions about the EEP and who you should contact, please contact me, and I'd be happy to make sure that happens.
Okay, thank you.
I talked a little bit about a misconception that if you go to work, you're going to jeopardize your Social Security, whether you're on SSI or SSDI. But Social Security has what they call work incentives, and I did see this red workbook on one of the tables out there as well. It can be a little dense and a little complicated, but in short, there are many work incentives that help you show them that money that would normally come out of your check could instead be used for one of these incentive programs so that you could work and still keep your Social Security benefits and your Medicaid.
And job coaches help with that too.
Yes, yes, and there are special, we'll get to a slide that they're called IRWIs that will help you with all of that. So for example, there's one work incentive called student earned income. So if someone's under 22 and attending school, they can each month turn in their pay stubs, and they could earn up to $1,750 a month and keep all of their Social Security, their SSI check. So it's really knowing where to go for all these work incentives, and we're going to get to that in just a second. There is a cap on that for an annual, where up to $7,000 per year. But if you envision you're in school and you maybe have a part-time job, 15, 20 hours a week, you're not going to hit $1,750 a month. So really, you could have both. This is a question that is frequently asked. How much could a person on SSI earn annually in gross wages before they're in jeopardy of losing Medicaid? And now SSI, as you earn money, for every $2 you earn, they reduce your check by $1. So you still come out ahead by working. In addition, if you take advantage of all the work incentives that are out there, an individual could have their Medicaid and have $1 left of their SSI check and make $30,000 a year. So it's again being able to navigate that and knowing who to go to help with that, which is our very next slide. They're called a WIPA, W-I-P-A, a Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Program. And locally, it's Abilities Incorporated in Clearwater. They're part of the Service Source Network, and that's their contact information. I believe Abilities may have a table here today as well. So that's a person that you could arrive to and say, I'm new to the job force, I'm now earning a paycheck, and I would like to know what incentives I may qualify for. Any questions about the employment component?
That with the abilities, is that for just the people in school?
No, that could be anyone.
Okay.
Anyone, right. They're contracting with Social Security to provide that guidance with those work incentive programs. Can I answer any questions?
Yes, and you said every $2 earned?
Right. With an SSI check,
Yes.
at the very beginning, they don't count the first $85. Okay, that's free and clear. And then from that point on, if you don't use an incentive, every $2 you earn, your check will come down by $1. So if you're getting $733 in SSI and you earn $200, now your check's going to be $633.
There's lots of different incentives and there's lots of different
Right.
things that you can access where that doesn't have contribution.
Social Security has I believe, I thought I had a slide on that. They have about 12 different incentive programs that you can go and learn about and see how many you can qualify for. And in some cases, you may qualify for more than one. Yeah, slide, but that doesn't link up. That's okay. There are work incentives for Social Security disability insurance as well, like a trial work period, an extended period of eligibility, and special rules for blind workers. On SSI, they have the student earned income, which is the example we used. They also have called a plan for achieving self-support for those that are interested in opening and becoming self-employed, opening their own businesses, where they're able to take money out of what would come out of their check and instead put that into that plan for self-support. And any impairment-related work expense, any cost that you may incur due to disability that impacts your ability to go to work can be subtracted out of that as well, so that you're able to keep as much of your benefit as possible. Any other questions? Even general APD-related questions? Doesn't have to always be about employment, anything about the wait list or eligibility or anything at all. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's my contact
Great.
information.
Thank you.
And you just answered like a bunch of questions I had.
Oh, super.
Because of her getting a job at